I was 19 years old when I finally heard the sound I had been waiting for my entire life. A knock on the front door that didn't belong to my parents. That single knock changed everything. Is there anyone in your life that you wish you could get revenge on? Tell me in the comments who that person is and what they did. I'd really like to know your story. And please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can continue bringing you these stories. Your support helps me keep creating and sharing new content for you. My name is Mia Thompson, and this is the story of how I was hidden in the basement by my own parents for 19 years, until the day a social worker knocked on our door. I don't remember much from my early childhood, but I do remember the day my parents decided I shouldn't be seen by anyone. I was around 4 or 5 years old when they moved me from my bedroom upstairs to the basement. They told me it was safer down there. At that age, I believed them. The basement had no windows, just one small bulb that stayed on for most of the day. There was a mattress on the floor, a small table, and a bucket in the corner that I had to use as a toilet. My mother would bring me food twice a day, usually bread, boiled eggs, or leftovers. Sometimes she would sit with me for a few minutes and talk, but most days she would just leave the plate and go back upstairs without saying much. My father rarely came down. When he did, he would stare at me with cold eyes and say things like, "You're better off down here. People wouldn't understand you." I never understood what he meant by that. As I grew older, I started realizing that something was very wrong. I wasn't allowed to go outside. I wasn't allowed to go to school. I had no friends. The only people I ever saw were my parents. My mother would sometimes bring me old books or magazines so I could learn to read and write. That's how I educated myself over the years. By the time I turned 16, I had started asking questions. Why can't I go outside? Why don't I have any friends? Why do you keep me down here? My mother would get angry and say, "Because we're protecting you. The world is dangerous. You should be grateful we're keeping you safe." My father's answers were even colder. He would say, "You're not normal, Mia. If people see you, they'll take you away. Is that what you want?" I didn't know what not normal meant. I had no mirror in the basement. I only saw my reflection in a small piece of broken glass I had found. I looked normal to myself, just a girl with long brown hair and pale skin. One night, when I was 18, I tried to escape. I waited until my parents were asleep, then slowly climbed the basement stairs. The door at the top was usually locked from the outside, but that night, it wasn't. I quietly opened it and stepped into the hallway for the first time in years. The house was dark and quiet. I walked toward the front door, my heart beating so fast I thought it would burst. Just as I reached for the doorknob, I heard my father's voice behind me. "Where do you think you're going?" I froze. He dragged me back to the basement and locked the door from the outside. That night, he didn't bring me food for 2 days. My mother came down once and said, "See what happens when you try to leave? We're the only ones who can protect you." After that, I stopped trying to escape. I started believing that maybe they were right. Maybe the world really was dangerous. Maybe I really was better off hidden. Until that one afternoon when everything changed. I was sitting on my mattress reading an old book when I suddenly heard something I had never heard before. The sound of a car pulling up outside. Then, a few minutes later, I heard the doorbell ring. My heart started racing. I had never heard the doorbell before. No one ever came to our house. I heard my mother's footsteps above me. She opened the front door. I couldn't hear what was being said clearly, but I could make out a woman's voice, calm and professional. Then I heard something that made me sit up straight. "I'm from Child Protective Services. I need to speak with you about your daughter." My mother's voice became sharp and defensive. "We don't have a daughter. You must have the wrong house." There was a short pause. Then the woman replied firmly, "Ma'am, we have reason to believe you do, and I'm not leaving until I see her." I stayed completely still in the basement, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I had heard the woman's voice clearly from upstairs. "I'm from Child Protective Services. I need to speak with you about your daughter." My mother's voice came next, sharp and defensive. "I already told you, we don't have a daughter. You have the wrong house." There was a short pause. Then the woman spoke again, her tone firm but polite. "Ma'am, we received a report, multiple reports actually, and I'm not leaving until I confirm whether there is a young woman living here or not." I heard my father's heavy footsteps as he came to the door. "Look," he said, trying to sound calm, "my wife already told you, we don't have any daughter. Our only child is our son, who lives in another state. Now please leave before I call the police." The woman didn't back down. "Sir, if you don't let me in, I will have no choice but to return with law enforcement. We have enough evidence to believe a young woman is being kept in this house against her will." My mother's voice rose slightly. "This is harassment. We are a respectable family. You have no right to come here and accuse us of such things." I sat frozen on my mattress, listening to every word. For the first time in years, someone from outside was asking about me. Someone knew I existed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to bang on the ceiling and shout, "I'm here! I'm down here!" But years of fear stopped me. What if they were lying? What if this was some kind of test for my parents? Upstairs, the argument continued. "Ma'am," the social worker said, "we have records. A girl named Mia Thompson was born in this house 19 years ago. There are hospital records. There are old school records from when she was 5 years old. After that, she disappeared from every system. No school records, no medical records, nothing. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Where is your daughter?" There was silence. Then I heard my mother's voice, lower this time, almost whispering. We sent her away. She had problems, mental problems. She's in a facility now." My blood ran cold. They were lying about me. They were telling this woman that I was crazy and locked away somewhere. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I stood up and walked to the bottom of the basement stairs. My hands were shaking as I placed them on the wooden railing. I took a deep breath and did something I had never done before. I shouted. "I'm here!" I screamed as loud as I could. "I'm in the basement! Please help me!" The house went completely silent for 2 seconds. Then I heard the social worker's voice again, now urgent. "What was that? I heard someone. Open the store right now." My father's voice was panicked. "That's just the TV. My wife was watching something." But it was too late. I kept shouting, "I'm Mia. I've been locked down here for years. Please don't leave. Please help me." I heard movement upstairs. Someone was unlocking the basement door. My heart was beating so fast I thought I might faint. The door at the top of the stairs slowly opened. A woman in her 40s appeared at the top of the stairs. She had short brown hair and was wearing a dark blue jacket with a badge on it. Behind her stood my mother and father, both looking terrified. The social worker looked down at me. Her eyes widened when she saw the basement, the dirty mattress, the bucket in the corner, the lack of windows, and me standing there in old clothes with messy hair. She slowly walked down the stairs and stopped a few steps away from me. "Nia?" she asked gently. "Is that your name?" I nodded, tears filling my eyes. "Yes," I whispered. "My name is Mia Thompson." She looked around the basement once more, then turned to look at my parents, who were still standing at the top of the stairs. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson," she said, her voice now cold and professional, "you are under investigation for child endangerment, false imprisonment, and possible abuse. I'm taking Mia with me right now." My mother started crying. "Please, you don't understand. We were protecting her." The social worker didn't respond to her. She looked back at me and spoke softly. Mia, would you like to come with me? You don't have to stay here anymore. I look at my parents one last time. My mother was crying. My father was staring at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. I turned back to the social worker and nodded. Yes, I said, I want to leave. As I walked up the basement stairs for the last time, I didn't look back at my parents. I kept my eyes forward. For the first time in 19 years, I was stepping out of the basement into the real world, and I had no idea what was waiting for me outside. I followed the social worker up the basement stairs. My legs felt weak, and the light from the hallway was so bright that I had to squint. It had been years since I had seen proper sunlight. As we stepped outside the house, I stopped for a moment and just stared at the sky. It was blue with a few white clouds. I had almost forgotten what the sky looked like. The social worker, whose name was Miss Rachel Bennett, gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "You're safe now, Mia," she said softly. "You don't have to go back in there." I nodded, but I couldn't speak. My throat felt tight. She took me to a temporary shelter for young adults. For the first few days, I barely left my room. Everything felt too loud, too bright, and too fast. The sounds of traffic, people talking, and even the smell of food in the cafeteria overwhelmed me. I had spent 19 years in silence and darkness, and now the world felt too much. Miss Bennett visited me often. She helped me apply for identification documents since I had none. She also arranged for me to meet a therapist. At first, I didn't want to talk. But slowly, over the weeks, I began opening up about my life in the basement. The investigation against my parents moved quickly. The social worker had taken photos of the basement, and combined with my statement and the hospital records from when I was born, there was strong evidence against them. Both my parents were arrested and charged with false imprisonment, child endangerment, and neglect. During the trial, my mother cried in court and said they were protecting me. My father remained mostly silent. In the end, my mother was sentenced to 4 years in prison, and my father received 3 years. The judge also issued a permanent restraining order, meaning they could never contact me again. After the trial, I was finally free. Not just physically, but legally too. Over the next year, I slowly learned how to live in the real world. I got my first job at a small bookstore. I learned how to use a phone, how to take public transport, and how to talk to people without feeling terrified. It wasn't easy. There were many nights when I cried myself to sleep, missing the strange comfort of the basement because it was the only world I had known. But I kept going. One day, almost 2 years after I was rescued, Miss Bennett called me with some news. "Mia," she said, "we found some of your extended family on your father's side. Your paternal grandmother is still alive. She lives in another state. She wants to meet you." I was nervous, but I agreed. When I met my grandmother, she hugged me and cried for a long time. She told me that my father had cut off contact with her years ago and had told her that I had died as a child. She had no idea I was alive all this time. Meeting her gave me something I had never had before, a real sense of family. Today, I'm 22 years old. I live in a small apartment with my grandmother. I'm studying part-time and working at the bookstore. I still go to therapy and I still have difficult days, but I'm no longer the scared girl hiding in the basement. I sometimes think about my parents. I don't hate them anymore, but I also don't forgive them. What they did to me for 19 years can never be undone. They stole my childhood, my freedom, and my chance at a normal life. And for that, I will never go back. What I have learned from all of this is simple but important. No one has the right to take away your freedom, not even your own parents. And sometimes the people who claim to be protecting you are actually the ones keeping you trapped. It's never too late to choose yourself, even if it means starting from nothing. I was hidden for 19 years, but I'm not hiding anymore. Is there anyone in your life that you wish you could get revenge on? Tell me in the comments who that person is and what they did. I'd really like to know your story. And please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can continue bringing you these stories. Your support helps me keep creating and sharing new content for you.